Shalom everyone, and all praises to the Most High YAHUAH ALUAH, and unto our done and Savior YAHUSHA HAMASHIAC, and welcome for another episode on Yahshua Discovery Channel. Today's lesson investigation is going to be about Yahuwah, the rational creator. Atheism exposed. The reason why I'm doing this video is because as servants of the Most High, servants of Yahusha, we are to reach out to everybody. And also, as servants of the Most High, we're supposed to be equipped with the knowledge of our scriptures. So, why Yahuwah, the rational creator? It's because if you were to look everywhere, every philosophy, every worldview, the God of the Bible, the Most High of Israel, Yah, is the only one that can account for intangible human experience, meaning things that you cannot sense and touch, like truth, justice, love. These are abstract things. They're not physical things. And Yahuwah is the only one that can account for them and give us clear understanding of them. And if you take the Most High Israel out of the picture, these things will not exist. So let me demonstrate to you that the Most High Israel is superior when it comes to that, as opposed to these other gods, these other religions, and these other worldviews. Because none of them can account for these intangible things like logic, truth, even knowledge for that sense. What I'm further to do is get into it. So the laws of logic. So the laws of logic are abstract concepts, immaterial things that transcend us and that are universal, meaning they work everywhere the same way. And there's not a place where these things do not work. And you may have not heard of them, but you're using them on a day-to-day basis to make a judgment about something, to make sense out of something, to reason with each other, to make a statement about something. We do use these laws of logic. And there are three fundamentals to it. The first one would be the law of identity. And the second one would be the law of contradiction or non-contradiction. And the third one will be the law of it's in the middle. Now, how does it relate to the Creator? How does it relate to Yahuwah? The reason why it relates to Yahuwah is that nobody else gives us account for these things, for what we think rationally, for what we think logically, or for why is there such thing as logic. But the Most High Creator, Yahuwah, explains that throughout the scriptures and gives us a reason why we think, why we have thoughts, why we can reason with each other. Because we made in His image, and He is Himself, His nature, a rational being. And by default, we as creation reflect His rationality. Hence why we can reason with each other, we can use this. But these other people or religions or, philosophy cannot account for it. Let me explain. So before I start with the script, at least let me give you the definition of these laws for those who don't know what they are, or for those who didn't catch what I was trying to explain. And the first one is the law of identity. And we use the letter P as an example. So P is P. If a statement such as it's raining is true, then the statement is true. So it is what it is. And most time the statement, for example, P, or it's raining, is the same thing as itself. And is different from everything else. Hence why it has its identity. Okay. I hope I'm not losing you right now. And the second one is the law of contradiction or non-contradiction. We still use the letter P. So P is not non-P. So P cannot be B, for example, Meaning, a statement such as it's raining, or still P, can't be both true and false. It can't be P and B at the same time, in the same sense. So yes, it could be raining in New York and not in Paris, but it can be raining outside your doorstep and not raining outside your doorstep at the same time. It don't make sense, what I just said. It's logical fallacy. So you get what I'm trying to explain. The third one is the law of excluding middle. Basically, the law of excluding middle is simple. You say you don't use letter P. It's either P or non-P, or B if you want. Yeah? Meaning, a statement such as, it's raining, or P again, is either true or false. There's no middle ground. It's one or the other. So, it's either raining outside on my doorstep, or it's not raining outside on my doorstep. You can't be both at the same time. So you see how they all relate to each other. The identity, the law of non-contradiction, and this law of excluding middle relates to one another. They make sense. But if you was to talk to somebody like an atheist, they might use these, but they're probably trying to say that the concept that we make up are the thin air or whatever, but who's account for it? And if we made them out of thin air and there's no creator, it's totally arbitrary. Meaning, how can we account for it? How can we trust our senses to tell us what is true, what is logic or not, if we just come from a chaotic evolutionary world which cannot account for logic things or sense or rational things? The same thing for these other religions, when they do not account for the reason why we ought to think this way. So everything is explanation for us to make sense out of it. And only the Most High Scriptures does make sense out of it. Because we're made in His image and we depend on Him, on the Most High, for us to have reason. We're made in His image so we can reflect His rationality, because He's a rational being. So let us examine if everything I've explained can be backed up by the Scriptures. And we'll start with the book of Genesis, or Bereshit, chapter 1, verse 27. So Elohim created man in His own image. In the image of Elohim created He him. Male and female created He them. Tzelem, the image of Yah. Tzelem Elohim. Yeah. So we're created in the image of the Most High. Meaning we're the only beings on earth that can reflect the nature of the Most High. We are His representative. Yeah. So by default, if He's a rational being, then we're supposed to be rational too. Or we're supposed to possess rationality as He does, because we made in His image. Yeah. But you see, it works with the script. But if you don't got the scriptures, then you cannot account for it. Because to the Muslims, they're not made in the image of Yah. To the atheists, there's no such thing as Yah. Although they lie to themselves, they say themselves and they know that Yah exists. But anyway. Yeah. To the Buddhists, they're not made in the image of Yahuwah. So they cannot account for rationality. That makes sense? Alright. Although they might tell you that they can, yes. But if you do not have the originator, how can you claim such thing? We do have the originator, and we are told that because the originator can do so, and we made in His image, so we can as well. Hope that makes sense. Another one. Precept. Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 5, verse 3. And Adam lived 130 years, and begat a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. So, right there we're seeing that being the image of Yah, we passing it down to the next generations. So, all humans are the image of Yah. My son is my image, and so on and so forth. I was the image of my grandfather, all the way back to Adam. Yeah? So we all possess these abilities. Now we have an account for what things are, the way they are. Let's continue. Psalms of Tehillim, chapter 139, verse 14. I will praise Thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are Thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. So for sure, people of the scriptures, they knew they were made in the image of the Most High. And let us seal the deal with Wisdom of Solomon, YAHUAH ALUAH, chapter 2, verse 23. For Elohim created man to be immortal, and made him to be an image, or Tzelem, of his own eternity. Very simple. Now, due to the fact that we now understand that we made in the image of the Most High, let us see if scriptures give us an account that mentions that he is a rational being, that he possesses knowledge, that he thinks, that he is logic in a sense. Job chapter 13 verse 3. Surely I'll speak to the Almighty, and I desire to reason with Elohim. You see? So Job understood that he could reason with the Most High, that he could use logics with the Most High, that he could engage in a discourse with the Most High. You see what I'm saying? Yeshayahu, and this one is a famous one, or Isaiah chapter 1 verse 18. Come now, and let us reason together, saith Yahuwah. So you see, he's telling you, come on guys, let's talk about this. Let us discuss this matter. Yeah? Let's continue. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. So basically the sin will be purified in a sense. Yeah? But what I want to emphasize is this: let us reason, save the Most High. He is reason himself. That's his nature. So if we made in his image, we can reflect, or we're supposed to reflect this. But once again, the only one that gives us an account on this is the God of the Bible, the Elohim of the scriptures, Yahuwah. These other religions, these other philosophies, they don't give an account for it. We have a rational explanation on what things are the way they are. And it's only the Most High of Israel that can do that. This book that we got, so-called book that we have, this affair or letters or whatever you call it, scriptures, they're not just some magical things talking about the end of the world and don't do this and don't do that. These things puts us in touch with reality. It's not explained that way, but it's literally what it is. There's no such thing as laws of logic in the scriptures. No, they don't say it, but they're using it, and they give us account or explanation for it. But if you were talking to an atheist or whatever, you will have nonsensical explanation. What I'm trying to say is that, once again, these people are not rational. If you don't believe in the script, you are irrational. Or should I say, you're contradicting yourself. Or you don't have the explanation for what you call rationality. Mishlei, or Proverbs, chapter 2 verse 6. For Yahuwah giveth wisdom, out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. Now we have the full explanation now. It comes from him. So regardless if you believe in the Most High or not, it comes from the Most High, because you made in his image. So you see, us believers, we have an account, or we can account, for what we call rationality. Because Yahuwah, or the Creator, is the basis for knowledge and understanding and logic. But you see, if you're not a believer, you cannot account for it. All you have is chaos. In order, logic does not come from chaos. Never. You cannot experiment that. You cannot test that. For your empiricists out there. Anyway, Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9 through 10. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done, it is which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. And there is anything whereof, if may be said, see, this is new. It has been already of old time, which was before us. In a nutshell, there's nothing that we need to understand. Like I said earlier on, These laws are universal. They work all the time and everywhere the same way. There's not a place where the laws of logic do not function, do not work. They always work. So which leads us to the uniformity of nature, the uniformity of the world. Meaning, these laws of nature, of logic, are the same as they always been, just like we read now, nothing under the sun. Things have been and they will be. And it goes in a circle. It has uniformity. It does not change. But for it to be uniform, it needs to be someone that sustains this uniformity. Because chaos cannot create uniformity. Because if it does, then how are you supposed to know that the next 5 minutes will be like the last 5 minutes? Or should I say, in a nutshell, how do you know that jumping out of the cliff yesterday will kill somebody, but tomorrow will not do the same? You logically think that it will still do the same thing every day. This is what's called uniformity. So certain laws will not change. The laws of density, or falsely called gravity. Right now, right here, the earth is flat. I'm missing one with this spinning ball nonsense. But anyway, let me jump into the next part of the lesson. So let's talk about the laws of uniformity. So very simple. Uniformitarianism, also known as doctrine of uniformity or the uniformitarian principle, is the assumption that the same natural laws and processes that operate in our present-day scientific observations have always operated in the universe in the past and apply everywhere in the universe. In a nutshell, the same laws works everywhere the same way, and it always has been that way. Or should I say, all of us assume that it's still going to do the same thing as they've been doing it. So for example, if you cross the road, you're going to get hit by a car. It's going to be painful. It's not going to be a pleasant experience. And it always has been the same way. It's not going to change. But in a chaotic world, where everything happens by chances or random selections, like evolutions, if you want, this makes no sense. How can you trust your senses, which they're, or should it be random? How can you trust your senses to tell you what is true, or what is not, or what is uniform, or what is ununiform? And if these other people, atheists, agnostics, and so on and so forth, are right, then us assuming that the world will be uniform is completely arbitrary, and we're just making stuff up. Assuming that we need logic to deduct anything or whatever is completely arbitrary. It's all happened by chance. It's all illusion. We're just fuzzing. Nothing has any meaning. That's it. But you see, it's not how you live. What I'm trying to say is that the atheists and all these people, it's not that they don't know. They do know. But they deny the YAHUAH ALUAH of the scriptures. Does that make sense? Okay. And another thing is that you need uniformity to do things like science. So these people that claim that they're scientists or whatever and that they have an understanding, contradicting themselves. We know that the most important components of science are testability, observability, and repeatability. But you see, in the evolutionary worldview, or even for these other worldviews, other than the ones of Israel, you cannot account for it. You have no basis for it. We can account for it as believers because what? Yahuwah, due to his unchanging nature, made the world in such way that there's order and does not change. So we have room for science as believers of the Most High. These others do not. So let's expand on this uniformity with the scriptures. In Hebrews chapter 1 verse 3. Who being the brightness of his glory and the express image of his person, and upholding all things by the word of his power. That's what I want you to focus on. When he had by himself purged our sins, sat down on the right hand of majesty on high. This verse talking about Mashiach, but you already know if you follow me, that Yahusha is Yahuwah in the flesh. Anyway, so right now we have an explanation for the uniformity, because what? The Most High upholds all things by the word of his power. All things, not some, all things. How much is all? Okay. And thus giving it the ability to be uniform because of his nature, which is unchangeable according to the scriptures. So that's how we can understand that the word has uniformity for us believers, Israelite, whatever. Let's continue and explain how he sustained it. 2 Peter or 2 Keeper, chapter 3, verse 8. But beloved, be not ignorant of his own thing, that one day is with Yahuwah as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. This verse is not talking about that one day is like 1,000 years for the Most High. No. It's just saying that the Most High is outside of the rhythm of time. Time does not bother him. And trust me, that's what it says. Because of this next thing. The handing of Psalms, chapter 90, verse 2. Before the mountains were brought forth, or even thou hast formed the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting thou art Aluah. So from everlasting to everlasting, is the meaning he has no beginning, no end. Yahweh is not subjected to time, space, to time itself. He's outside of that. That's why he sustains it. So going back to the laws of uniformity, because I need to point that out too, for the psychopaths out there coming after me talking about a day is 1,000 years for Yahuwah or whatever. Anyway, let me continue. In 1 verse 4. So Psalms 90, verse 4. For 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday when it passed, and as I watch in the night. As I watch in the night. There he is. Yahweh is not subjected to his creation because he sustains it. That's what the scriptures basically trying to say to you. I got more. See the deal. Nehemiah chapter 9 verse 6. Thou, even thou, art Yahuwah alone. Thou hast made heaven, the heaven of heavens, with all their host, the earth, and all things that are therein. Check this out. The sea, and all that therein. Check this out. And thou preserve them all. And the host of heaven worships you. So you see, we must preserve all of this. So once again, believers, we have a basis on how the word is uniform. Because Yahuwah sustains it, preserves it. And due to his unchanging nature, it's going to be the same thing again and again. And that's why we can do things like science, test things. Yeah? We can conduct studies on people losing weight and all that stuff. Because it's still going to be the same thing. The low thermodynamics is not going to change. Yeah? Calories in, calories out. Take away the energy is less. Put the energy in, gets more. Too much calories, you put on weight. Less calories, you lose weight. So, same thing. Believers, we have a basis for science in the first place. For knowledge in the first place. Because we have a creator that sustains all of this. And that makes our word uniform. And if you want a bit more understanding on that, you can go read Job chapter 38 and chapter 39, when the Most High explains how he sustains the world, how he sustains the beast and all of this stuff, the rivers and all of them things. He explains that to Job. So please, if you want more understanding, pause this video and then read the old chapters, so you can get more understanding on that. A close up if you want to. So let's jump into the third part of this lesson. And obviously the best one for the end and the most obvious for the end, the laws of absolute moral. And let me read to you a little definition of what it is. Moral absolutism is the belief that there are absolute standards against which moral questions can be judged, and that certain actions are right or wrong, devoid of the context of the act. Absolutism is often philosophically contrasted with moral relativism, which is a belief that moral truths are relative to social, cultural, historical, or personal references, and to situational ethics, which holds that the morality of an act depends on the context of the act. According to moral absolutism, morals are inherent in the laws of the universe, the nature of humanity, or some other fundamental sources. So in a nutshell, we all know there are things that are right to do, like helping the poor, feeding the needy, and all that stuff. Yeah. And there are things that are wrong to do, murdering children, innocent children, raping women and all that stuff. These things are wrong. We all know and understand. We don't watch these things on TV, these brutal murders, and say, well, it's relatively wrong to me, but to him it could be right. No. We say it's evil, and we making laws, passing laws, and calling police when these things happen. So, hence why, making you understand that we're made in the image of the Most High. And if there's such thing as a moral code or moral standard that we ought to live by, this means that there must be a moral lawgiver that is above humanity, Yahuwah, the Creator. Because if not, it's totally arbitrary. There's no such thing as wrong or right. But that's not how we live, and that's not how we experience life, for sure. So let's see what the word of the Most High says about the laws of absolute moral. And he got a lot to say about it. We're going to start with Genesis chapter 1 verse 27. Because this is why we ought to live a certain way. We have moral. Because we made in the image of the Most High. As I showed you already. And himself is the definition or the nature of morality. The moral lawgiver. Yahuwah. So Genesis chapter 1 verse 27. So Elohim created man in his own image. In the image of God, or Elohim, created he him. Male and female created he them. So we made in the image of the Most High. So as I said, we reflect his nature because we made in his image. Now, Genesis, so Bereshit, chapter 9, verse 6. Check this out. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Elohim made he men. So this verse is not saying that whoso sheddeth Israelite blood. It's saying Adam in Hebrew. So right here we have basis for human's worth, human's value. Right here in the scriptures. Hence why we see value in other people. So when we see a brutal murder, we know that human is what? Valuable. So that's why we say, hey, that's horrible. That should not be. And when we see injustice, we stand for it because we know that man has value. And right here, Yahuwah tells you that you have value. Because you don't want another man to shed your blood. Because you made in his image. The definition of love is value. But you see, if you live in an evolutionary world, it's relative. Nothing is everything. Everything is nothing. It's all added up to zero. You have no value. And if you do think that you have value without the Most High, it's totally arbitrary. Who said so? Remember, it's relativism. You're not wrong. You're not right. So, why are you saying you have value? Because you made an image of Yah. You might deny it, but you are. And for these other worldviews as well, the Buddhists, the Islam and all that stuff, you also live that way. As if humans have value. Why? Because God said so? No. Because we made the image of Yah. And the only one that can account for it is who? The Mosa of Israel. Is the only one that says that with the Zelem Elohim. Nobody says it. Let's continue. Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 4, or Devarim chapter 32 verse 4. He is the rock. His work is perfect. For all his ways are judgment. A God or Elohim of truth. and without iniquity. Just and right is he. So you see, his nature is justice. His nature is just. His nature is truth. So because we're in the image, we reflect these things. This is why when we do something bad, we have what? Guiltiness, conscience speak to us. Some people can block it off and do the most horrible things, horrifying things. Some people can rationalize their sin, but still, you know in your heart of heart, some things are wrong, some things are right. And it transcends humanity. You can say whatever you want, but you know in your heart. And that for sure I know. Let us see. Matthew chapter 5 verse 48. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Once again, the end goal is for us to be more like Yahuwah, to be more like the Most High. Right now we're not. This is why the world is in such trouble. Because of sin. We remove ourselves from the Most High, from being the image of the Most High. But still we are, because we made in that nature. Hence why when we do something bad, our conscience speaks to us. Because there is such thing as moral. Yes, there is. And I'm talking about absolute moral. Nowhere in the world it's right to rape women, to kill children, innocent people, to steal from people. Nowhere in the world it's right to do so. I don't care where you're at. It's never right. It's not relative. It's not right for me or wrong for you or this and that. No, it's not right at all. And some things are right everywhere in the world. Helping people, spreading love and all that stuff. It's right everywhere. Alright, let's continue. So we understand now. The nature of the Most High is perfect. That's why he made us in his image. And then we know that some things are wrong, some things are right. Micah chapter 6 verse 8. He hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doeth Yahuwah require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with Elohim. You see, this is the sole mission of men. To love mercy, to do justly to one another, and to walk humbly with the Most High. And that is revealed throughout the scriptures. Just like his character, logic, and all that stuff. All of this goes hand in hand. Every single thing I mentioned, the laws of logic, the laws of uniformity, absolute moral, these are what? Intangible things. The immaterial things that we live by. And for immaterial things to be, there must be an immaterial being that made them. It's simple. You don't need to believe me. So yes, we're to be more like the Most High. That's why he showed us. To love mercy like he does. To do justly like he does. And to justly means that we cannot adhere to sin. So if something is wrong, we're going to say it's wrong. We're not going to say it's right because people want to do it. No. I want people to say, well, the God of the Bible is against homosexuality and all that stuff and this and that. He doesn't want people to have sex before marriage and all that stuff because it is wrong. We don't need you to say, yes, it is. It is because he said so. And he knows why he's saying this is wrong. Just like he knows why he said, do not murder is wrong, is the same. Romans chapter 2 verse 14, or Mahim chapter 2 verse 14. For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, so we know he's talking about the real Gentiles, okay, do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law, are law unto themselves. You see? Showing again that all men is made in the image of Yah. The Gentiles don't have the Torah. They don't have the commandments of Yah. But still they understand that stealing is bad. Still they understand that hating people for no reason makes no sense. Whoever you are, we have experienced sometimes going places and someone that is not your race did something good for you. You've experienced that. You might be some crazy Hebrew Israelite right now, yeah, wanting white people to be your slave or whatever, but you've experienced kindness from someone that is white, from someone that is from India, from someone that is from China, and vice versa. Because we made in the image of Yah, there's nothing we can do against it. And this right here speaks of it. It is law for them, even if they don't have the law, because it's written in their heart, because we made in the image of Yah. Yes, sometimes we can go against it, we can sin and rationalize our sin and all that stuff, but still, we all made in the image of Yah. And that's how I know that we all deserve salvation. But you crazy people talking about you want to have people as slave when you're going to be in the kingdom. You ain't going to have none of that. Trust me. Yahuwah is just. Anyway, let me get there. Proverbs or Mishlei, chapter 6, verse 16. This 16 doeth Yahuwah hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. Let us see. And we're going to jump all the way to verse 19. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, just like it said in Genesis, when he said that he don't want you to shed men's blood. This is what it means, to shed innocent blood, basically. A heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that showeth discord among brethren. So you see, due to his unchanging nature, his righteous nature, he made us in his image. And this is why when people do these things, we know that they're wrong. You see, it all back in the circle. It all goes back in the circle. It all makes sense at the end. It adds up. It's a puzzle. We know it's not good to lie. We know it's not good to cause mischief among people, create arguments. We know it's not good to be a false witness. We know it's not good to shed innocent's blood. It's not things that we made up in our head, and that is social construct of a evolutionary process. No. This is the nature of the Most High that is in us, because we made in his image. Ezekiel chapter 44. Everyone, verse 21 and 23. Neither shall any priest drink wine when they enter into the inner court. So just to give you a context, he's talking about the priest. Yeah. 23 now. And they shall teach my people the difference between the holy and the profane, and cause them to discern between the unclean and the clean. So if we know the difference between the holy and profane, which is good and evil, or the unclean and clean, then we have moral. And how do you teach that? How do you teach this? How do the priests teach this stuff? By the Torah, by the law. And that one is for you city Christians out there talking about you don't need the Torah. Leviticus or Vayikra, chapter 10, verse 10 through 11. And that ye might put difference between holy and unholy, good and evil, basically, and between clean and unclean. And that ye may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which Yahuwah hath spoken unto them by the hand of Moses. You know what Moses gave the Israelites is the Torah. So you see, the Torah is the witness. Because anybody can come up and say, well, I didn't know that you're not supposed to kill people. I didn't know that you're not supposed to murder, to steal, and all that stuff. Although, in your heart, you do know it's wrong. But people can just say that. But the Most High gave the Israelite, gave us, yeah, the Torah. So that it's a witness, a direct witness. We have the word of the Most High saying, no, this is something that you're not supposed to do. Because once again, common sense will make you realize that what? There's an absolute moral lawgiver. If in your heart you know that there's such thing as moral. And you don't know anyway. So the Torah is the instrument by which we to judge right and wrong. And the scripture is clear anyway. And for you Christians again, let me show you that Paul even says that. So Romans chapter 7, 1 verse 7, And we're going to jump to verse 12. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? Is the Torah sin? God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law. For I had not known lust, except the law said, thou shalt not covet. So you see, even him is telling you that, here we go, moral comes from the law. Without the law, you won't know what sin is. You might see in his heart and understand that maybe it's not right, but because the law pinpoint to it and say, no, this is not good, due to the unchanging nature of the Most High, then he knows for sure. Verse 12 now. Wherefore, the law is holy, and the commandment is holy and just and good. Now just get back to these Christians out there trying to say that we don't need the Torah. And if you don't have the Torah, you're contradicting those scriptures anyway. And for those of you Christians that know the law of what? Non-contradiction, Yahuwah can't do that. So get lost when you're talking about you don't need to keep the laws of the Old Testament. It's bullcrap. You do. Because if you don't, you have no basis for what is wrong and what is right. It's arbitrary, just like the atheist. Yeah. You didn't know that? Anyway. Romans chapter 2, 1 verse 6 through 8. Who will render to every man according to his deeds? To them who by patience, continuance, and well-doing seek for glory and honor and immortality, eternal life. So the Most High will give recompense to everybody according to what they did. But unto them that are contentious and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, indignation and wrath. So simple. The Most High, because we are moral agents, made in his image, knowing what is wrong and what is right, the Most High has to judge us because he's a moral being. Just like we judge people all the time. Even when we say, don't judge people, we do judge people right then and there. You know? So, knowing that we're moral agents, the things that we do, we have to give account for it. It comes with consequences. And unfortunately, the Most High will judge everybody at the end. And you see, this is true justice. Yeah? This is what hope is. Because if I'm following the atheists and all of these crazy people, there's no such thing as justice. Everything adds up to zero. You can be Mother Teresa, you can be Hitler, you can be the slave traders, back then in the time of the Negro slavery and all that stuff. Yeah? You can be all of that. You can be Jesus or Yahusha. It doesn't matter. Because we all going to zero at the end. But you see, it's not what it is. It's not how we live. It is not what it will be. There will be a judgment. Because if there's something that's moral, which means there's a moral lawgiver, this moral lawgiver, you have to give account to him one day. Just as Scripture says. Ecclesiastes 12 verse 14. For Elohim shall bring every work into judgment with every secret things, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So if there's such thing as good and evil must be judged. It's simple. John chapter 5 verse 22. For the Father judgeth no man, but he committeth all judgment unto the Son. You see, we've been told all around that the Most High is going to judge, and now we've been told that the Son is going to do it, because the Son is the Father. Just something to throw out there. 2 Corinthians, or Corinthians Shanin, chapter 5 verse 10. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Hamashiach, that everyone may receive the things done in his body, according to that he hath done, whether it be good or bad. So simple. End of the story right there. There will be a judgment because we have a creator that gave us logic, that made a world uniform for us to live to, and that gave us moral laws that we ought to live by. Throughout the scriptures that's been revealed to us and in our hearts. So once again, showing you that the superiority of the scriptures, that the God of Israel, the God of the Bible, can account for intangible human experience, can account for what we call reality, can account for all of this. You may not believe, even up to now, you made it. But we don't need you to believe. We pray you do, but we don't need you to believe. Because in your heart, you know the truth. I hope this lesson has been an enlightenment. I pray you be saved. All praises to the Most High YAHUAH ALUAH and to YAHUSHA HAMASHIAC. And for now, shalom.